Broncos country, we're back here for part two. This time joined by my good friends, Mark of Marky Sports and Jeremy Auten, talking everything Denver Broncos as we go into Las Vegas, finally get that elusive victory on the road, 29-19. Bo Nix plays out of his mind. I do want to give a quick shout out. I totally forgot on my video with Zach Seegers to even talk about Wil Lutz. I had him in the subject line of my video. That guy was awesome today, responsible for 17 points for the Broncos. He was awesome and really excited to talk about this victory. Of course, guys, please go follow Mark. Link to his channels in the description. Please like both streams, subscribe. We're on our way to 2,000 over here, and join the chat. We love talking with you guys. So without further ado, let's get everybody's first impressions. We'll start with you, Mark, and then go to Jeremy.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy doing this with you guys. I feel relieved. It was a stressful game today, man. It was stressful, but I think, I listened to what Sean Payne had to say after the game. I think he summed it up perfectly. This is a game that the Broncos had to kind of grind away to win, figure out how to play an opponent that, frankly, threw a lot of different things at him that they definitely didn't expect. And he said something that I thought was really interesting. He said, last year, this team would not have won this kind of game. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't agree more. It actually reminded me a lot of that New England game on Christmas Eve that completely ruined my Christmas. Obviously, different circumstances. One game was at home, one was on the road, and one essentially ended our season. But I felt like it was very similar, right? It's like you're playing a team that you should be beaten. They had a backup quarterback in and all sorts of crazy stuff. And the Broncos just couldn't get out of their ways. They kept finding a way to lose. They had some special teams mistakes. Same with this game. So a lot of similarities. But, I think that it goes to show the grit and the toughness of this team. So huge win and happy that we pulled it out, man. So curious to know what you guys think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Like, this was one of those, people looked at the records before the game started. And you go, Broncos are favored by a lot. Should be an easy game on paper. It's a division game against the Raiders away. When has that been easy? It hasn't been. When they showed the last time we beat the Raiders on the road and Chris Harris was taking one back with Peyton Manning on the team, I was like, this is insane that we have not been able to beat the Raiders in Oakland, Vegas, wherever you want to play them. We haven't been able to do it. And today was no different. You get into one of these games and you're playing Max Crosby, who's a freaking menace to society. Like, oh my, this guy's just wrecking the whole team. Like, oh my, and then we're making stupid penalties, drops, stupid mistakes, and you just go, please let this not be one of those games. Like, we cannot afford to drop against a hapless Raiders team, which they were playing their butts off. Effort-wise, they were bringing. I said at halftime, they are out efforting us. They're out playing us on both lines of scrimmage. Our O-line was struggling, and their D-line was coming after us. But what's been the story this whole year? Bo Chapman-Nix, dude, he is just calm and clutch, and man, it is just stat. Yeah, you're right. Let's bring it. Right, forgot about it.
I don't got no cool prop.
You got to
put on the football helmet, Mark.
Well, these ones are the replicas, so you can't even put them on. It's annoying.
What the heck?
Yeah, I know. They have a little plastic part on it. No, that's another story.
They just it's for kids, so they don't go outside.
I would totally be wearing it.
Crush their brains. But Bo Chapman-Nix, man, he's just stacking performances on one another, on another. Looking in the face of, hold on a second, I got a Bo Chapman-Nix fan right here. He is just clutch and calm and just, man, you just love to see it, because when everything else is going wrong and people are dropping and people are penalized and it's second and long or third and long, you still feel like you guys were just talking about. Last year, we wouldn't have been able to overcome some of these things. And this year, you just have a calm presence in the pocket, just scanning and dealing. And man, does that feel nice. And to win a game where that was a rock fight. Like, that don't get it, twisted. That was a that was a war, and it finally felt like when we got that touchdown to Courtland, that was like the breakthrough you needed. But then it still just didn't roll the way you expected. But man, mental fortitude, mental toughness, and yeah, great shout out, Wil Lutz. He snuck a couple through there, but man, that was clutch. Good to see, real quick, good to see D-Rock, Victory, Doug, David. Good to have you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
And look, it's a holiday week. How good is it going to feel to sit down and say thanks?
I was thinking about that.
Freaking Broncos future that we have before us.
Yeah.
It's like
when
you lose a bitter game.
I was thinking at one point, like, man, the turkey's gonna taste like crap if this continues.
Exactly.
So it'll taste a little bit better now.
Exactly. Yep. You're just gonna be thinking, man, it's just beautiful to have holidays and then have something in the back of your mind, just be like, oh yeah, that's right, we won, and we're looking good. I love it,
dude. Man, I don't even know where I want to start. Like, Bo Nix is just that dude. He's just that dude. I loved to see the broadcast just glazing all over him today, man. Like, we're so used to watching every single Patrick Mahomes performance, man. Everybody's glazing all over him. I'm glad that our quarterback's starting to get some recognition, and I think he took a step forward here in putting himself in contention to win that Rookie of the Year, like maybe becoming a favorite here soon, as long as he continues to stack these performances. But one of the biggest things that really stuck out to me, now that I've had a few hours to kind of think about the game, has just been the trust. I know the numbers don't look great on third down. I think we were 6 of 15. Like, that's not great. But in some of those third down conversions that we had, Sean Payton just showed so much trust in Bo Nix to go ahead and go get it. And I really love that, particularly on that 3rd and 1. I think it was on our own side of the field, and it ended up being like a play action. I think he hit Sutton for a big gain. The fact that he is comfortable putting the ball in Bo Nix's hands on 3rd and short or on 3rd and long, it is so refreshing. And again, this offense hasn't reached its peak yet in terms of where it's going long term with him, but it's so refreshing to see an offense that can convert 15 yards to go. It's incredible.
That used to be the death knell of our offense. Like, there was a negative play, there was a holding, and that was it. We all knew. I mean, it would take 3 perfect plays to get out of that. Now it's like, oh, we picked it up. It's crazy. Like, that's the part where I think Sean, almost in the end of that game, instead of running the ball and being smart, I think he's just like, oh, Bo will be fine. He can handle it. He's almost like trying too much. And you're just like, yeah, but still just run it. Like, you don't need to like go for the jugular. Like, that's just but his instinct. But he just has complete faith that Bo's going to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's got to feel great for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, real quick, when you said that we're getting some love from the telecast, like, that felt weird. When they said Bo Nix was the 6th quarterback picked and he might be the best one, almost a tear came to my eye. I was just like, what is happening? Like, you're going to say that? Like, I'm just shocked that they're actually like, that's where we're at right now. Like, they're on the telecast, they're saying, and did you see Bowles at the end of the game when Bo was doing his post game? He was, of course, Bo's just, you probably should have been talking to Sutton since he had the 2 touchdowns, like, being super gracious. Here comes Bowles going crazy, going like, we got the best rookie quarterback. And then Bo just looks at him, smiles, and then just stays 100% in the pocket and just goes, yeah. And then, it was good that and it's not affected. And, it's just great.
I can't believe the NFL let Sean Payton get Bo Nix, right? It's amazing how the narrative changes. But I would love to just get to hearing from you guys, what were just some other highlights, some big moments that you guys really wanted to take time to talk about or or player performances. We got a lot to talk about. So, Mark, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah. I mean, they said in the chat, my guy, big play Vele, third down and Vele, whatever you want to call him. He's just so solid, man. He's really allowed for us, I think, a lot of Broncos country to forget about losing Tim Patrick with he reminds me a lot of him, right? Just a younger version.
Yeah.
So solid, made such big time catches at the time of the game. And, I think another thing that really stuck out to me is, in games like that are tough, that you fall behind or you just can't get a rhythm, you're always kind of having some mistakes that, stall your drives.
Mm-hmm.
Our ability to just still not turn the ball over and have those really, really back-breaking penalties is huge. We remain patient. We stayed on course. And I really love watching Bo Nix just operate the offense, man. He's changing up plays. He's confident. He's really able to read what the defense is doing, with the cover zero blitzes that they were sending. And, even throwing one up early in the game to Sutton that ended up getting a PI. And then, on the touchdown pass, it's just great because it's now you can't really trick the kid. And they just stayed on him, and they stayed together. They did enough to win. So, huge fan of Devaughn Vele. I love this. I'm really happy seeing his growth. And then on the defensive side of the ball, it's not that he had an amazing game just today. I just think I rarely hear anybody talk about him, including myself. And that's Brandon Jones. I know he had a huge pick today, but the guy's actually just been playing Pro Bowl level. I think he's been playing much better than Justin Simmons has in previous years. Super solid, great in coverage, great against the run. So just, I wanted to mention him because if you just go and watch what the guy does, he's just locked down. He's solid. Defense always looks a lot better when he's out there. Obviously the pick was huge, changed the game. And it was really more on, I can't remember who it was that actually caused the pressure. I think it was Malcolm Roach that kind of,
he had a great game today.
Yeah. Malcolm Roach, he stepped up too. But so the defense as a whole, man, they had their moments for sure, but they definitely bend, but they didn't break. They're the number one team in the red zone, and they continued that, and that's huge. You hold teams to field goals in the red zone. That's ginormous. So that's kind of my takeaways. Jeremy, what do you think, man?
Yeah, Brandon Jones is such a great pull. I mean, he does the things that stand out, but he also does the things that don't stand out. Like sometimes in the past, and it drives me crazy, is when somebody catches it and the guy running with him kind of runs by and doesn't touch the person down. He's the one who's aware of oh, that guy's not down. I got to run and grab him real quick. Or just a little subtle, he's always aware, and he's bringing so much just intensity. That's the thing about the Simmons that always drove me nuts is he would always play passing lanes and get picks and all that. And that was great. But we just didn't have intensity with him. He would tackle very gingerly and politely, it almost felt like. And Jones is kind of come and hit you. That one play with Surtain where Jones makes the awesome breakup, and then Surtain just comes in and gives him a nice remember me. That was great. And it's nice to have Surtain feeling himself as far as physicality, because he always has to be the guy who's doing the locking down, and he doesn't get to come up and hit. So that was a nice change of pace. And that's one of those things where it's this kind of game was billed as Bowers versus Bo, as far as, this may be the second or third place in the running of rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year. Who's going to play? And it's everybody was saying ahead of time, put Surtain on Bowers. And for the most part, man, Bowers had a real quiet day. I mean, there were some late plays. There's some plays late that he got a little more, but that was nice to see. I mean, I'll give Sutton some love. He had a really quiet first half, and then just showed up clutch and huge on third down, and it was a safety blanket for Bo. And then, that touchdown just was the one that's it finally felt like we finally broke through. And he mossed that guy,
Right.
To get that. I mean, that was not an easy catch. That was a Courtlant Sutton, old Russ moonball special that made Russ's stats look so good. But that's nice on third down when you can just if you know you got one-on-one with Courtlant Sutton, you can just throw it high, and he's gonna go get it like that. Once Bo learns that, that's another thing in the arsenal that he can just go to. Yeah,
I was so impressed with how quickly he was getting rid of the ball. You know, Sean Payton mentioned in the post game how they were expecting just a lot of zone coverage, like really the defensive plan from the Raiders, where they were going to be blitz heavy, a lot of man coverage. It really threw him off. And I do want to give credit. You know, I don't think that this was Sean Payton's best game at all, but you got to give him credit. Like he made enough adjustments. Bo Nix made enough adjustments where we scored 20 second half points on the road.
Yep.
That should lead to a victory. And I'm glad that they were able to make enough necessary adjustments to get it done. But yeah, like facing a lot of pressure, Bo didn't fold. He was getting rid of the ball. He was throwing with anticipation. You guys pointed out like those throws to Courtlant Sutton for the touchdowns. I mean, they were fantastic. And I'm curious. I think maybe D-Rock brought this up, but
yep.
Yeah, how are you guys feeling about Sutton right now? You think he's somebody that's making a case to stick around, and in what role?
Man, I think he's certainly making the case. Coming from what people have called me a quote unquote Sutton hater, not necessarily a Sutton hater, but always felt like he was a little bit overrated. I think he is though, and it's mainly because of the leadership that I feel like he's shown this year. They talked about it a lot last year, and I felt like maybe it was fabricated a little bit more, and maybe that's just because Russell Wilson himself is kind of fabricated too. But I didn't really know, but I feel like I see it a lot more now. He's very involved. His effort level is better. I think there's more accountability. So that's really what I like about him. I still don't think he's a true wide receiver one, but he's definitely somebody that you can continue to build an offense around. He gives you a really unique skill set. And he showed today. Obviously, this is a secondary that he should toast. But if he's getting one-on-one, you feel good about your chances. So I think it's definitely something that we should look into. But it's a tough question because there's so many variables that go into it, right? Who's available, for trade and in the free agency and all that. But by all means, I think he's definitely earned a good hard look for sure.
What do you think, Jeremy?
I love these comments about shutting people up about the arm strength stuff.
Oh yeah, break it down for us.
Because I had to fight that battle tooth and nail for months about like his ceiling's only so big because his arm strength and he's got a B- arm and all this, and it's just like, man, to see those just absolute lasers to Vele, the one last week. I mean, that's the one the NFL is like he put the NFL on notice, was like, oh, you might have thought some stuff before the draft about Bo Nix, but there's no doubting Bo Nix's arm after that throw. And then he came back and followed that up today with a couple that you're just like, dude, I mean, if he's confident and he's seeing the field and just ripping it. And even like Travis Kelce, all these people saying like this dude's out here ripping it. Patrick Mahomes saying, I mean, I don't know. Like Sean Payton, after 15 throws during a pro day, was like, this is it. If you don't trust Sean Payton over your own analysis of like, I watched 3 games of him at Auburn and now I'm like a Bo Nix expert, like. And the other thing about it is people on Twitter, like this last week was the game, like the week where people were finally like, let's pull out the receipts on the Bo Nix, like non-believers. And people were just like, what's up with this? What's up? And to see people just double down or just disappear instead of just coming out and being like, yeah, I got that wrong. Like, it blows my mind as an adult person. I'm like, just admit you were wrong. It's not that hard. Like, there's a million things I'm wrong about. Like, we can all admit, like, what's the heck? But it's like, nope, his arm's not as good. It's like, all right, well, I don't know what to even say. Like, there was one, and I don't want to call him out like hard because I was just joking for the most part. But Coach Mike Sanford, all that, back when he did a live hit on something he was talking about at the Senior Bowl. His arm was vastly inferior to JJ and to all these guys, Michael Penn, all these people, and it was shocking. And he's a 3rd-round talent, and da 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 da. And at the time in March, check my Twitter feed. In March, I was like, "You're a hater. Like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know what you're watching." And then he's just like, "No hate at all." And I go, "Okay, fine. You're not a hater. You're just wrong. That's fine. We'll just call you that." And then he's just like, "All right, agree to disagree." So this week I just go, "Still disagree with your take." And he's like, "What was I wrong about?" And I'm like, "Everything you said." What do you mean? Like, I don't.
I'm gonna tag him. I'm gonna tag him in his video.
That's just the one where I'm just like, guys, it's over. You've seen it. Like, the people who are still like dragging their feet on calling him a franchise quarterback, I get you, like, don't want to get too excited. You don't want to like have your heart broken. I understand all of that. But like, this is not Drew Lock having a good game. This is not even Tebow effect where he goes on a run. This is like tangible things that this person is doing over and over and over, week after week after week. Doesn't matter what defense. Like, we can be happy that it's here. Mm-hmm. We've been waiting so long. And that's the thing, that you watch a game like that where I was joking with you guys. This game didn't feel like the Denver Broncos versus the Las Vegas Raiders. This felt like Bo Nix versus Max Crosby, because Max Crosby was tearing it up and Bo Nix was sitting in the pocket doing his best, like, just to keep it going. And it just was like punch at punch, punch. And it was like a rock fight. And it was like, who's going to come out victorious? And man, Max Crosby, give him credit. That dude, I would love to have a guy like that. But, man, how nice is it to have Bo Nix?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell him, Bear. Tell him.
I want to give a shout out to Kodiak Broncos. I reposted his video yesterday, but he put out a video earlier this week, just going through Twitter and all this stuff of all these draft experts that were hating on Bo Nix and how they're still doubling down. It was great. It was like 15 minutes of just lighting them all on fire. So y'all go check that out. Want to give him credit. Hopefully we can get him on the show here at some point. But there was another thing that I wanted to point out about Bo, and maybe I'm making like too big of a deal about this. You guys let me know, but I just don't remember, again, since Peyton, seeing a guy behind center that if he's pissed off about something, like, he's going to let the refs know. Like, if he doesn't feel like they're managing the game correctly, like, he gets in their face and he lets them know. Of course, we've seen a little bit of that with Sean Payton a couple months ago or so, but I think he's got a different aura to him than some of these other guys that we've had, and I think it's starting to show in some of these little ways that can kind of help get the game in your favor with how he handles himself with the referees and stuff. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, I mean, I think it's a very good observation, and it's extremely important, because I think that he's not only is he, you hear the stories about him earning the respect of the teammate and the coaching staff, but he's trying to get the accountability from the refs too, right? That's how you become to get, that's how you get to a point where you can get maybe the favorable whistles, or like, the Patrick Mahomes treatment, for example, right? Those things don't just happen out of the blue. Or maybe it does with the Chiefs, but just in general, because you're constantly letting them know, like, watch out for this, watch out for that. And then, they'll be able to make those plays. So I love it. I think it's extremely important. And you see it a lot, like with his teammates too, the way he's handling with Sean Payton, the way that he's talking. But yeah, even today, right, when they had set the ball down, he said the clock didn't, was never reset. He was yelling at the refs then. You love to see it, because it's every little thing about a person's demeanor, about the way that they prepare, about the way that they carry themselves. They all has to do with their overall performance and the kind of a player that they are. And I love that. And then there was that meme that was going viral afterwards. I think I sent it to you guys too, where he was just looking at who was it? The guy that they drafted last year in the.
It said Wilson, draft. Yeah.
Well, who's it?
Wilson.
Tyree Wilson, yeah.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, we can show it. And he was just like looking at him like talking that smack. I love it. I love it. And yeah, and so like look at that. Like hell yeah. You know, and not only is that like awesome as a as a Bronco fan, like that's my quarterback. I retweeted that, but think about what it does to everybody else, right?
That's right. That's right.
And that fire, yeah, we haven't had that fire definitely since Peyton. And the whole like lack of arm strength thing was the most annoying thing. I just wanted to say a quick thing on that, because it's the most annoying thing in the world, because it's like, if you list the top 20 most important traits of a successful quarterback, arm strength is like number 18th or 19th. It really is one of the most irrelevant things to study, because there's not one quarterback in the NFL currently, or that's played in the last 10 years, that was elite because they had a strong arm. It was a nice weapon to have, but there's so many more things that are important. In fact, in my opinion, the two best quarterbacks to ever play are Brady and Manning, and both of them did not have strong arms. So it's kind of like, I think Broncos country, I think they're kind of starting to take that James Marilat bait, right? Where James Marilat, what he does is he always wants to be negative and get the clicks and say bad things. And if he's right, like if they suck, then he was right. And then if they're really good, then he's happy that he's wrong. And if you're going to come at me with that, I don't want to hear it. It's weak sauce. So no more of the Bo Nix arm strength talk, please. Put a lid on it now for sure. That's my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Marilat he's like the person who runs Denver sports or whatever. Because I've heard like no, but I'm like seriously,
it's crazy.
which now that just changed me going from, oh, this is a person who's just like an analyst who's wrong a lot, to like, oh, you're doing this purposely because you want the traffic. Mm-hmm. So when he says stupid crap, I'm just like, well, he's just trying to antagonize.
He gets me though. I
don't.
He does get
me. Yeah. It's stupid.
Like, damn it.
It's stupidity, but it's just like, I see what you're doing. All right.
Yeah.
You know.
He gets me.
Yeah. No. You just said the best way to describe Bo Nix is fire and ice, because when he needs to, like, he'll do it to Sean Payton, he'll do it to a ref, he'll do it to the opposite team, he'll do it to Vele if it looked like he was running a route and he turned on it and he's just like, what do you do? Like, and the other word is accountability, like you said. That's the word. He holds himself to a very high standard. He works his butt off to make sure everything is correct. And then if he feels like, what the heck, ref? Sean, that's not what you said this, and that's not what, whatever it is, he's not like gonna sit back and get played like that. He's just like, no, that's not. And I love it. And like you said, whether he's talking to a ref like that, I mean, Bo, he's not cussing at him or whatever. He's just like, what the heck? What's going on? And then they explain it, and now they have a better relationship for that. It's leadership. Exactly. That is exactly what it is. It's leadership on all fronts. Like, I just love having a guy that, when he goes home, he's not going to be stupid, and there's not going to be any reports of him being like, oh, this is breaking of like him just being out foolishness. But like, he's everything. I don't know. To me, it's like he's everything you want in your leader of a franchise. And that intensity, looking at the guy in the eyes and like, come on with it. Like, remember like the last game, Max Crosby was yelling. He's like, you're not yelling loud enough, Bo, or whatever. And I just love how he's like, bring it on, Yeah. And that fires your team up. I get fired up as a fan just watching it. Like, yeah, this is our guy, But like, if you're like a receiver or a guy blocking for you, like, that's gotta fire you up. And that's the thing about Peyton Manning. Like, it's not just Peyton Manning is like smart and can put it there or whatever. It's hey, you ran an 7-yard route and you were supposed to run an 8.5-yard route, and that's a problem. Like, and if you want to be successful, you better do it right, or you're going to be gone. It's that kind of week in and week out accountability that's going to make this team go to the next level, go to the heights that we want it to go to.
Mm-hmm. I want to get to this because I think it plays well to our conversation right now, and building off what you're saying, Jeremy. But Oracle says, but seriously, how shocked are you guys with what we've been seeing from Bo since our preseason game at Indy? We knew these conversations were coming, and I think if you've been listening to our collaborations since the summer we've done, I mean, I think we've all had pretty like high expectations for Bo Nix in this offense, at least compared to what the general media has expected from this team, which essentially was next to nothing. But I think we're pointing out some things that I think even exceed our expectations, such as holding people accountable this early, like rookie season. You're seeing this type of stuff. It's only a matter of time before you see him have his, Cody Latimer moment, I feel like, which is like, hey, you ran this wrong route, you can hit the bench. Like, that's the type of leadership trajectory I feel like he's on. What anything else you guys, to say in regards to this question?
Yeah, nothing that I would say I'm specifically shocked by, but I was definitely pleasantly surprised with, the fire that he has, the competitive nature. You always kind of hear things in like the scouting report, he's the ultimate competitor, blah, blah, blah. But I never really got that fiery sense from him when I would like listen to interviews. You kind of see it, but you don't really know it. And just like you said, I think to be able to see it and see it so early has been incredible. And I mean, it really started. It started in the last Raiders game, right? When him and Sean Payton were yelling at each other. That made me so happy inside in so many different ways. And I think that was opened up the floodgates for a lot of it. And another thing is that I didn't know he was as athletic as he is, and that's a great thing, because that's always a great trait to have. But he never looks to utilize that as an excuse. It's just an extra weapon that he has. He's always looking to throw the ball. His pocket manipulation and his overall awareness have been kind of next to none. But man, do me a favor, guys, whoever's watching this, go back and just watch either whether it's highlights or like an extended version of the first couple games of the season. You're going to see like, holy moly, this guy has made an unbelievable leaps in so many different ways, from just 2 months ago. So I love it. Yeah, but we have been on it. You're right, David. We've been on this really since March. Jeremy's the one that got me on it back in January. I made a video in March, well before, like saying Broncos country, just get ready for Bo Nix, because I just really felt like there was no doubt we were going to take him. And not to toot my own horn, but I think that there was a lot of people, even though we still make up the minority, that was really hyped up about Bo Nix and what he could bring. But the majority kind of took over, I think, at least early on. So
I think so too.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by anything. Honestly, I'm not saying I predicted it to happen exactly this fast in this exact way, but like I've not seen anything I didn't expect to not see. He ran for 500 yards as a junior, his first year at Oregon. He ran for an 80-yard touchdown that year. Like, I knew he's athletic. I mean, even the game that he destroyed CU, he was running, like, he was whipping around the corner and, like, they couldn't tackle him. So it's just the matter of putting it all together. And also, I think for a lot of people out there, they saw the first couple games, which it's like, when you made the decision to start a rookie with no chemistry, with on the road in tough situations, you know there's going to be struggle. But Sean Payton was like, I want this guy to get through the struggle quickly, and then we can build from there. And that's exactly what we've been seeing. And now you can just see, like, it's like the Matrix all of a sudden. It's like when Neo finally, like, started to understand his powers. You know what I mean? It was like he could just start to, like, dodge bullets. It was like, it almost is like you can see it slowing down right before your eyes. That he's just like, and when I just love, like, the pocket, like, presence. The only question you have is, I've seen all the things I need to see. I want to draft this person. I really believe in this person. I believe in the person he is as well, not just the player. But until you see it happen in the NFL when bullets are flying against the best in the world, you still, in the back of your mind, are like, I've seen other people, especially when they go to bad franchises, who have all the hype, have all the talent, have all this stuff, and it doesn't work out for them. And they start seeing ghosts, and then it just starts to snowball the other way. And so you're just like, okay, I believe in this person. I think it's going to happen. I 100% back this person. And here's, real quick, a lot of the people in the chat were people that I was in the chat with on other shows, and they were all the people that were like OG believers, because we all saw it the same way. And so it wasn't just me. And I love the fact that like those people get to see this come into fruition, because it's been a decade of just like banging our head against the wall. We just don't go with the young guy. And this year is like, oh, he's QB6. And I don't understand. There's something going on with Bo Nix, and I just don't understand what it is. A part of me feels like I know maybe a little bit, but the hate or just the disrespect that he gets for no reason compared to other people, I just don't understand it. I think it makes it that much sweeter when like he proves him wrong, actually, in hindsight. But I personally think it's like his beliefs and how like outspoken of a Christian and stuff like that is. Some people always will get irritated by people like that. I don't understand it. Even if you don't believe the same things, who cares? Just judge him fairly off of football. It doesn't matter, but I don't know. It just seems like for some reason people, he's old, he got a weak arm, or it's just like, why are you making excuses? Just let him either succeed or fail and then judge that. But like, you're like, he sucks because he's 32. It's like, all right, you're not saying any of that about Jaden Daniels, not saying any of that about like a 1 year difference with Caleb Williams. He's got better weapons. We don't like all the stuff, all the stuff we've talked about. So that's the thing that makes it sweet now that you get to be like, man, I feel like I want to do a victory lap, but it's not about, it's not about our predictions. I'm just happy that happened. Like, I don't care about credit. I don't care about like, but here's the thing that was weird for me. I've been watching, I've been a fan my whole entire life. I've never seen a guy pre-draft process and been like, I feel I have to stick up for this dude. I feel like I have to like say my piece on it. Like it felt like a conviction for whatever reason to be like, this is the dude. This is what I believe in. And this is what I truly feel like this was. A lot of times I'm just like, I would pick this guy, but we'll see. And you know what I mean? But for whatever reason this year was just like, I don't know. It felt like the stars were aligning. I just felt like Sean Payton was going to love this dude. And like you said, the NFL done messed up letting it happen. Yeah. I'm so happy. And here's the thing. It worked out to our benefit. The fact that he slipped to QB6, number 12 overall. If he didn't get all the hate and he didn't get all the haters and people actually judged him fairly at Oregon and all these other places, we wouldn't have gotten him. So thank you, Bo haters. Thank you very much, because now he's ours and here we go. That's how I feel about it.
We needed some luck like this in the draft. You're right about all this, Jeremy. I wanted to get to David's question before I forgot about it. There are some other players that I do want to shout out from today's performance. But you guys think VJ gets a head coaching gig next season? I guess we got to see who is fired. There's been a couple head coaches fired already, but I'm curious, do you think it's more likely that he leaves or stays after this season right now with how things are going? Mark?
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. It's a great point. It's a great question by David. I hope not. I ultimately hope not. I think they talked about it a little bit on KOA as well. The Broncos, obviously, with the ownership group that we have, we could throw whatever kind of money we want at him to keep him. And I think I think the more continuity that you can have, the better. He might really just want to take a head coaching opportunity, which is obviously great for him. But I think we have an advantage in a sense of he loves it here. He's he's basically from Colorado, right? He just enjoys to be here. Maybe he just doesn't really care to be a head coach again. Maybe he just wants to be a defensive coordinator, which I would love selfishly. But man, such a special shout out to him. Like coming here, being a head coach, it was terrible. Got so much hatred. He was always an unbelievable person, a great man, somebody I always respected. Came in here as the defensive coordinator, and the stint started as badly as you possibly can. And then to flip it around to the point where we're like, pay him more than head coach money to keep him is a huge salute. And I think if the Broncos can throw more money at him to keep him, they definitely should. Because even though we could probably, promote like Jim Leonard, a lot of people are saying that he's a really kind of up and coming coordinator. You see a lot of teams regret when a very, very good defensive coordinator that just seems to gel really well with the personnel that he has. So I hope so. And yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. I think he should definitely win one of the Assistant of the Year awards for sure, as I seen there in the chat. And one more thing real quick. David had a couple of good questions. Another one that he had too. I think he had talked about, like, was it me or did we look really sluggish in the first quarter? Yeah, this was an ugly game. I don't want to sugarcoat it and say that it wasn't, but I think that the fact that we won an ugly game on the road, overcame a lot of the adversity, is the best part of it. I love winning games like this because it shows the true character of the football team. And this was one of the uglier games that we had, but to come out of it on the other side with a win, it just is a testament to what Sean Payton's done to this team. It's a testament to the growth about a lot of these young players, the leadership in the locker room. And it helps when you have a quarterback that can complete balls across the middle. So,
right. Yeah, Jeremy, any other thoughts on VJ?
Yeah, my prediction would be I don't think he's going to get a head coaching job this year. I think if he stacks him, he might. But and again, like you just said, I don't know if he wants to. I think sometimes, the Wade Phillips, some of these guys, the Vic Fangios, they find what they're like comfortable with, what they love, and why not just keep doing that, It's a weird job because it's, especially from a defensive point of view, that's the main reason why I don't think he will, is because he's a defensive coach. Defensive coaches have a really tough time because even if they're a good coach, they don't call the defenses the same way because they're having so many other jobs to do. And then if you have success on offense, you keep losing your offensive coordinators, and it's just a constant struggle of like retooling when you have an offensive guy who's calling the plays. Then it's easier to fill a defensive role than it is to constantly getting good, talented offensive head coaches. That's just stacked against you as a defensive coach, flat out. But he is, like I said, I don't like it when people can't admit when they're wrong. I will admit when I was wrong. I wanted him fired after the Miami game.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he was trash.
Yeah,
I thought it was. I was so upset. I was like, how the heck did you hire this guy? I don't care if it's Rex Ryan, get somebody else in here. And he, and to his, he was doing something that he wasn't comfortable with. He was trying to adjust to the previous defense. He was trying to adjust to Evero and try to have some continuity with that instead of just being himself. That should teach you a lot. Yeah. Just be yourself. And then once he was, hey, we're going to do things that I want to do and that I'm confident in doing and I believe you can do, that's when it all started to come together.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're signing people like Zach Allen if it's not for him, because he's the guy who saw Zach Allen from the inside in Arizona and was like, come with me because you're going to be a star. And he has been. So I was 100% wrong, and good job, VJ, because you are killing it, dude.
Yeah, I think kind of going along Oracle's comment here, I know he's much younger than Steve Spagnuolo out in Kansas City, but I think there's a lot to be learned from like guys such as Dan Quinn, like being very picky about their second spot in which they're going to be a head coach. Again, Vance Joseph, it's kind of funny because he's now having a resurgence with the team he had coached. But at the time when he was head coach here, this was one of the most dysfunctional franchises in the NFL. You had complete uncertainty at the ownership position. It was run by a trust. You had, John Elway, Joe Ellis and company kind of running things. And we all kind of know what happened during that tenure until, John Elway left and the new ownership came in. I think, hey, when you look at Dan Quinn, off the cuff, it's like, he went to Washington, though. Well, you had a brand new, super rich ownership group come in there, completely gut out everything that was there with Dan Snyder. You had a quarterback that you really believed in that you could get, whether that was Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels. And now you see him doing his thing. Washington is off to a great start with him in his second year. So I would like to see Vance Joseph remain patient. I doubt the Jets interview him or some of these franchises that need an offensive guy, but also a guy to keep tied up. And hopefully the Walton Penner Group will pay these guys, like you said, Vance Joseph, some of these other guys stick around. I have listened to Jets YouTube channels out here and podcasts on YouTube, and I've heard multiple bring up at least interviewing Davis Webb, which I find very interesting. I don't think he'll get a head coaching job this year, but I think you could start to see him get interviews such as that defensive assistant that we had a while back. I think he's with Detroit or Philadelphia now. What was his name? Or I guess
we had a defensive assistant that left, and he took the head coaching job for the Chargers, Brandon Staley.
Yeah, I think it was a defensive assistant that we had interviewed. My bad, but maybe he was with the.
You're right. I know
the Lions or something like
that.
Oh
yeah. It was the Lions D coordinator.
Yeah, whatever his.
The guy that used to play. What was his name?
I can't remember.
He's a really good coordinator, but I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah, but anyways, let's continue to move on, guys. Let's. I want to talk about Marvin Mims, man. He had what I think some people could argue as the play of the game. I really wanted him to score on that big play. Was it like a little screen, or no? It was a little just kind of wheel route out the backfield. Yeah, Bo Nix threw it perfectly. Mark, I bet you're feeling amazing. But what do you think of our receivers' performances today? Our young guys, for that matter.
Yeah, they were again impressive. Obviously, Vele we talked about. He's kind of a leader in the clubhouse when it comes to the younger guys. But it was nice to see Franklin, making tough catches across the middle, staying patient. Mm-hmm. I love the way they're using Mims. That play call was so wonderful, the perfect time. And that's the kind of thing with Mims. You get him in space, good things are going to happen every single time, guaranteed. He even had another one where he tripped, the freaking field tackled him. Or I'm pretty certain on that wide receiver screen he was taking that to the house if he didn't trip over the turf. But I think the young guys are doing great overall, man. Franklin's been a great surprise. They've been patient with him, which is good, instead of like kind of force feeding him. And they've been making it. I think them playing so much better has made Courtlant Sutton's life a million times easier, which is why he was able to really shine and get open. Because now teams can't really afford to double team him all day because other guys will beat him. So I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I do agree with Pro 16K that I'm surprised the tight ends were not more involved. I can say I'm surprised that I'm not, because it's like this is a matchup where we definitely could have gotten tight ends open, but we don't really utilize the tight ends, man. We kind of use Lil Jordan Humphrey and Devaughn Vele together as a hybrid tight end in terms of the way that they play, and then Marvin Mims is like an additional running back. But how nice was it that we didn't have to yell at Lil Jordan Humphrey today? He had one catch. I was totally fine with that kind of catch too. Or maybe two of them, whatever it was. But they didn't throw. I think they only threw it to him twice. Let me make sure I'm right on that. I think he got 2 targets. Let me see. Lil Jordan, 3 targets, 2 catches. Perfect. That's the perfect game plan for Lil Jordan Humphrey.
Yes.
No more than 3 targets. I'm good with that all day.
Josh Reynolds can't get here soon enough, man.
Yeah, I think one more week. I think he's a week out.
This is an interesting year because for the first part of this season, we were beating our heads against the wall about how we have no weapons. Bo Nix is having to do this with like the worst weapons in the NFL. And slowly and quietly, what went from the team that was getting the least amount of separation is now you're starting to see people wide open. You're starting to see people getting there. And you stuck with Vele, you stuck with Franklin, you stuck with Mims and giving him a different role, which I think has really helped him. I think just getting the ball in his hands, getting some touches really helped his just being involved in the game, the way he even his returning. It just seems like he's I have a role that I can actually, I'm going to see the ball at least five times in my hands, which is perfect. But now you're starting to get to the point where you're I'm glad you stuck it out with these young guys, but we're still desperate for dynamic weapons, but it's nice to have these younger guys be able to what I'm seeing in rookie years and receiver is such a hard, they're drinking through a fire hose as well. As far as routes and blocking and all that kind of stuff. So I could see some major steps forward from people like Vele and Franklin, like next couple of years, and Mims as well. So I'm just optimistic at what we can do. I still want weapons. Tight end looks like the biggest hole because there was a couple throws where it was just so obvious, especially after watching Bowers and even Mayer on their team, that Troutman is just he's so like leveled down athletic compared to some of these guys that you're just like, I love the effort. I love how he's consistent. He will block, do all that stuff. But man, getting him open is like, he's just not, and if he catches it, and going full speed, he doesn't have like the balance to like cut and do any of that. It's a huge hole. It's a huge hole. And tight end would be big get if we could solve that. I was thinking about that. They made that comment about how like I think you were saying the other thing, David, where with Zach, how we've had to go from Tony Gonzalez to Antonio Brown, or to Antonio Gates to Travis Kelce. Well, it started with Shannon Sharp, right? And then it went down that order. And now we have Bowers. So we're up. We're up next. We've gone the full cycle. You had Shannon Sharp, then you had Tony Gonzalez, then you had Antonio Gates, and now you have Brock Bowers. So we're up next. Let's get one. Travis Kelce, right? Like we're up. So let's get a dynamic tight end. And man, how much? I mean, Bo's already doing a lot on third down, just staying calm. But just to have another guy, a weapon like that, would just be huge, and for Sean Payton as well.
It would be. I mean, it would be great to draft a guy. I mean, Jawan Johnson's a guy that I think we should target. I know these aren't sexy names, but you see how Travis Kelce has aged, and Zach Ertz is even looking pretty good right now still. So like all these guys, even though they're not like great, they're still upgrades. So maybe we can pair that with a nice drafted tight end and like have this be a position that has some depth, man. But yeah, you guys are right. The best tight end play we got was like what, a year or a year and a half of Julius Thomas, and he couldn't even block.
Right. And that was just Peyton just knowing his athleticism and just being like, all right, I don't even need you to do this. Just cut in and cut out and I'll hit you. It was like, I remember so specifically with Julius Thomas where he caught a touchdown on Monday night. I think it was against that Baltimore game when Peyton threw 7 touchdowns, and he just yelled like, it's too easy. And then as soon as he got paid and went to like a different franchise with a different quarterback, it was like vanish. And it just goes to show you how much like Peyton Manning was responsible for his success, which of course it was. Terrence Ferguson, Oregon Duck, he was a huge player for Bo Nix last year. He is a guy that I would love to have. He's one of those sleeper tight ends that you saw it at Oregon and people watched the stuff. He loved throwing to the tight end. So it's not a matter of, oh, he's not throwing to tight ends because he doesn't like throwing to tight ends. It just happens to be, I think, our roster. If you can get a guy that he really trusts who's just consistent like that, I think it could be a huge weapon for us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this should be a fun year, man, to get weapons. And I mean, we all, we talk about T. Higgins, I feel like every other week. And, things are going in the right direction. The one elephant in the room, guys, this is probably the last topic that's on my mind, is just running back today. I could not believe it when Zach mentioned this, how Javonte Williams had negative yardage on the day on 8 carries. Unacceptable. It's unfortunate that Jaleel McLaughlin got hurt because he was kind of looking good, but would have loved to see Audric Estime close the game in the fourth quarter on those last 2 drives. He was running for 5 yards a carry. He can push a pile. I know we went completely away from the run game in the second half, but did you have to if you had Estime back there?
I agree. I mean, Javonte.
Yeah, it's like a thorn in my it's just like and it's always bugging you, because you never really know what to do with this running back room, and it's unfortunate for Javonte because he had a really great run that ended up getting called back from a holding call. And you can see why he was out there a lot, because you got Max Crosby, you need somebody to block. And on that screen pass that he dropped, that was probably a touchdown. He laid Max Crosby out. I mean, he put his head into him and then turned around. So everything about that was perfect, except obviously the drop. So it's like, I know the role. It's exactly like what Samaje Perine did for us last year. But it's very frustrating. Thank God I never really draft Bronco players in fantasy.
Yeah.
But you might as well just flip a coin at this point in terms of who's going to be the running back. I think we're like third longest streak ever, 25 games in a row without a 100-yard back. And the funny thing is, I think the last guy to do it was that guy we signed midseason in the Hackett year, Latavius Murray.
Dude, he was great.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't see that streak ending. I think the guy that has the best chance to end that streak is Bo Nix, to be honest with you. Like a 70-yard touchdown run. We're just splitting it up too much. And I'm telling you for sure, the two priorities going into the offseason, regardless of how the season turns out, is going to be Joker tight end and running back, because you can tell that it still kind of bothers Sean Payton. He's just trying to figure it out and make do with what he has. So, hey, as long as we keep winning, I'm good with all three running backs for now.
Y'all think we see A.T. Perry, Donald Parham at any point? I know that y'all brought him up in the chat, but I still want to see some of these guys. That's how I feel about it.
I don't think so.
But I don't think
I don't think so. Well, I think, going back to what we talked about earlier, I think Josh Reynolds' injury, even though injuries always suck, could have really been one of the best things that happened to this team. I know I talked about it when it happened, because it's now kind of forcing the Broncos to see these young guys, and they've done really well. You can see that growth. But I don't know. I'd like to see both of them. I don't think that we will. I'd also like to see Greg Dulcich again. I really would, man. I haven't given up on him because I just know that if you use him in that Julius Thomas role, right? Like, you're not going to sit there and tell him to block. Now Sean Payton's not going to do it. I'm convinced of that. But I've seen some things from him that are pretty special from an athletic standpoint. But it's going to probably take an injury or two before we see that. But otherwise, man, let's keep it rolling. I love it.
I agree, man.
When was the last game Dulcich played in? Because I remember
I think it was the second week, and then he got benched. I think he got
because I think Bo hit him on a couple seams, right? And then he might have dropped a pass or two, and then that was just it.
Which is weird, because it's like his, and in the limited time he played the first 2 years, he had great hands. His problem was he could never stay healthy. He finally stays healthy, then he gets to catch the football. You're like, damn it, man. You kind of feel bad for the guy. And maybe it's the hair. It might just be the fact that he's got great hair and nice little mustache that I'm like, I want to see it again. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, you're telling me that Greg Dulcich can't do the same role that little Jordan Humphrey's been doing?
Right.
I think he can.
Trust me.
I think you're right. It's the hair. It's the hair and the mustache. You know what it is? Sean Payton's wife said a couple too nice things about the way Greg Dulcich looked, and he has now been in Guantanamo.
He's like, screw that dude.
Yeah. F that guy. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Because when he was healthy, I was so impressed with how fast he could catch the ball, flip his hips, and get upfield. I mean, watching, no offense to Troutman, no offense to some, but the athleticism difference between those guys is shocking. And yeah, I think Sean loves to have like versatile players who can block and do all that kind of stuff. And that's key, especially when you have, they trust him almost too much, because there was some times a day where Atkins was just like getting whiff blocks on, and you're like, why are you putting Atkins one-on-one against Max Crosby? Why are you doing this? Like, it's I'm sure Nate Atkins is like, why are you doing this? Like, you're killing me. But
I can't believe we're running outside zone and not having like a guy in the backside to chip him. Like, sometimes, like, there were multiple plays where Crosby's just, he's fast enough to get in the backfield if you don't put a guy on him. And so if you're not going to block that end, it just, I think Sean Payton, he said, I could have, I probably should have gotten into a lot of heavier personnel in this game.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense. It makes sense. But he talked about it. He's like, we did not think that they were going to be blitzing like the way they were set in the house. They didn't care. And so I can understand why he wouldn't. But yeah, I mean, hindsight. But dude, what the hell would you do for somebody like Max Crosby? He is He's the
Double,
best
triple.
defensive player in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. I haven't seen a defensive player, like a defensive lineman, be able to genuinely wreck a game like that. It's actually like I get blown away, and I'm so
It's
happy we don't
Watt
have to play
brother
anymore this year.
stuff.
Like-
It's Von Miller stuff, dude. He like,
He was unbelievable, man.
Von Miller was
You can't run a
smoother,
screen. You can't
but
run at
like-
him. He'll run across the field.
and
It's
his
crazy.
wingspan is so long, dude.
Yeah.
Max
Wow.
Crosby was like, it looked like he should be arrested. Like he was just like, it was insane. Like how vicious the hits were was just like, dude, what did they do to you before the game? You're like taking this personally. And then they'd cut to him in between plays and he was like just super calm and not even breathing hard. And then the next play he'd wreck it. And you're just like that one play where we threw the little screen to little Jordan Humphrey and he totally rushed the passer, cut back, and then ran little Jordan Humphrey down before he could even get any yards. I was like, what are we like? This is just insane. I mean, I remember a Khalil Mack game we had like early in his Khalil Mack years where he just destroyed us. But that's like the last time. But it seems like Max Crosby, he's like, it's almost like he's a bull, like seeing red. He sees orange and just goes absolutely Tasmanian devil. It just goes insane. Yeah, like hopefully somebody trades for him. Like they're a bad team, but it does kind of look, this like redheaded, like white guy, huge guy, and the Raiders jersey. It does. If I didn't hit the Raiders, like that's just the pinnacle perfect Raider. It does. It just fits. Man. It really does. Tattoos all up. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, any other things you want to hit on? Tomorrow, I got LA because I'm rooting for Baltimore I'm rooting for Baltimore to win. We need LA to lose. So hopefully charge, but that's all I got.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. No, me too, man. It actually gives us a 1% better chance if Baltimore wins. So go Ravens. But I hope y'all appreciate everybody tuning in, man. Hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family. Enjoy it. It's going to be a lot better now that the Broncos won. And go Broncos, man. This is fun, guys. We're 7-5. We currently have a 66% chance, according to I guess New York Times is a pretty cool little simulator to make the playoffs, man. And so let's bow.
I love it, man.
Yeah,
I love it. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Real quick, last thing. One thing I'm really thankful for is just being able to like connect with you guys this season. It is so fun to just have to talk about football, to be with your friends that you'd be like, oh man, I can't wait to talk about this and share our thoughts. And then to have people come in and share their thoughts and we can have like this cool little like thing every week that it just makes it more special. And for us to it feels like this team has finally turned that corner and it was darkest before the dawn and we're just starting to see that sun come up. And it's so nice to be able to like do this with you guys, have like people like fired up. It's just so fun. And so, yeah, I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Me too. It's been such a fun season so far. This was the right time to start a channel, man, with the new era, with all this stuff and doing it with you guys, talking with you guys in the chat after every game. It's always wonderful. I imagine we'll probably aim for next Tuesday since our game's really on Monday night next week.
Monday night, yeah.
That's right.
All right.
Monday night before the bye.
Hey, let's go. I love that. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We had over 100 people in here for most of the stream, so it really does mean a lot. Please go subscribe to Marquee Sports. Please subscribe to my channel as well. We're on our way to 2,000. And like, comment on the way out. We'll be back again soon. And as always, y'all, go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.